guess yours is off.
How are you?
All right, how are you?
Do you want me to turn it on?
No.
The microphone? We're just gonna press on it and you wanna talk?
Okay, you can turn it.
Okay. Thank you.
You asked me if I wanted you to.
Yes, I know.
Okay, it's time to start. I'm now calling to order the October 3rd, 2018 Social and Economic Justice Commission meeting. First item on the agenda is approval of the September 6th minutes. Any questions or corrections to the minutes? And I guess Nicole isn't coming? Oh, okay. Margie?
No, I don't have any corrections.
Bart?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, now is the time for public comment. If there's anybody from the public who would wish to address an item that's not on the agenda, please step forward. Okay, seeing no one coming forward, I would go to announcements. And as we all know, we worked very diligently for over a year on developing a rent review ordinance, and it's now time to create dates for workshop on the ordinance that was passed by the City Council. And the first workshop will be held November 1st, 7 p.m. at the Albany Senior Center. The second one, December 11th at 7 p.m. at the Senior Center. And the third one, January 12th, 11 a.m. That's a Saturday at the Senior Center. And if you have any more questions about this, this is on the website, Albany's website, albanyca.org/rent review.
And they sent a postcard out that I got at my home today.
Wait,
A postcard with the dates of the workshops. I got it home today.
you did?
Yes.
Okay. I
You
don't know
don't
why
get
I
those
never get
postcards.
those postcards.
I wonder if it would be possible if perhaps one of those could be done at the community center rather than at the senior center. I think it might reach a different population.
Instead of the Senior Center? I don't know, is that open?
Well, all the workshops have been advertised right now at the senior center, and it's in the evening and on the weekend. So anybody is welcome to come to the workshops, and they've been planned in the evening and weekends so that anybody can come.
Yeah, sure, but, okay.
It might be good to have a bigger forum than the Senior Center. Maybe it's something that we could.
We'll have more workshops in the future. If we see that the demand exceeds the space, we can certainly review the locations in the future.
Okay. Does anybody else have an announcement?
Well, I just wanted to remind the Commission that there's an advisory body appreciation event on October 18th, and to RSVP if you haven't done so already. And that event is at the community center.
Community Center, what time?
At 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Mm-hmm. You should have gotten an email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no presentations. So the first item on the agenda for discussion is aging in place. And we have a subcommittee currently consisting of myself and Margie. And we met on September 11th with Sid Schoenfield, the Neighborhood Services Manager, and the new Senior Center Director, Robin Maranora. And we mostly focused on this concern about identifying and reaching isolated seniors to inform them of and provide them with the services they need. That's at least the first step. And we Basically, we were kind of brainstorming, so there's not like, we're going to do this and then we're going to do that and such, but just some, brainstorming and discussion about the issues and what kind of resources are available that we might look into. And Sid had mentioned that right now we have service such as transportation for the homebound, and there's actually free taxi services. I guess you pay for it and then you get reimbursed for seniors that are 80 years plus and the disabled. And we think, though, that we need to provide additional outreach to the homebound so they can access these services, as well as some additional ones such as health care, nutritional support, and home repairs. And, these things may already be available, so we haven't actually done like a thorough look into, everything that's available that we have or other resources could provide. So that's still it's an ongoing process. But Robin believed that she might be able to perform some of this outreach, and she believes, though, that there's certain legal issues that would need to be addressed related to the outreach and the needs assessment, depending on the clients. Sid's also working to identify isolated seniors in coordination with the police and fire department. I'm assuming that the thought behind that is if somebody's homebound and is disabled as well, may not be able to reach their phone or other their neighbors or whatever if they come against some kind of emergency. Or say if they become ill, debilitated, like for instance, if they have a heart attack. And there was also some mention about other resources that could support our effort, like Project Hope and the Berkeley Food and Health Project. And then also, I believe it was Robin said that the Adult Protective Services might be able to provide some guidance on how we can identify and reach isolated seniors. Then we created a partial list of current or tentative support services and professionals. Margie had indicated that she may be able to get some volunteer nurses. We also talked about Christmas in July, although apparently it's not called Christmas in July in Albany. There's Meals on Wheels already. There's the paratransport and the taxis. The senior center apparently had podiatrists coming in to service the seniors there who weren't necessarily homebound. I think that's kind of trailed off. They're not getting as many podiatrists to come in, but that's something that they might still be providing. But it'd be great, if we have homebound seniors, if they could have a podiatric services. Apparently that is really a big issue for seniors. You might think, getting your toenails clipped is not a big deal, but certain conditions exist among seniors regarding their feet, and they can become infected if they're not treated properly by a podiatrist. There's Friends of the Albany Seniors, which Margie is participating in. Uses the secretary?
Yes.
Okay. And then they also had been providing legal and tax support at the senior center. And I suggest that perhaps, we might be able to get ARP to also provide some services. I think what they were having people come in and give presentations, but it'd be really great.
They help them with their taxes.
Pardon?
They actually help people with their taxes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do that there. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay. So we want to continue that with possibly ARP and UCB law students. And who was else that, was that the
I
group?
think it was AARP that does it.
Oh, okay. Then, we came up with some ideas to look into. And there's, I looked into a couple of them, and Margie had come up with this great list of kind of characteristics of what makes things livable for a senior. And it's not just like physical things, but it's also kind of community. And did you want to just list those?
Yeah, well, in 2006, the World Health Organization did this big study on how to make seniors' lives easier, or, you know, have them be in a livable environment. And they came up with 8 domains of livability. AARP followed them and has almost exactly the same 8 domains. So it's like, I think we don't have to invent the wheel. We can look at these 8 domains. So I just want to read them out. The first one is outdoor spaces and buildings. So an outdoor age community includes public places to gather. Transportation, age-friendly community includes ways for older adults and non-drivers to get places. Housing, this is a big one, offering housing suitable for older adults, which is one thing where we're really lacking in Albany, I believe. Social participation, respect and social inclusion, which it's a separate category, and I think it should be. Work and civic engagement, communication and information, community and health services. And we went through this list with Robin and Sid, and the city of Albany is doing a good job in a lot of ways. They provide the meals, you know, the paratransit, a lot of that. But I think there's a lot of open spots that we can fill in the blanks and make this a more livable community for people who are aging.
And especially as, you know, we were mentioning, we're focusing on the homebound, isolated homebound people that, and Sid had said like the center, the senior center services about 4,000 people. I don't know if that's like annually or average monthly or, you know, what the time period was, but only about 1,000 of those people actually get to the senior center. And then they do have like the paratransit that can go pick up homebound people, but still a lot of these services I don't think have quite been extended to the homebound population yet. And there were some things that we wanted to look into, like affordable housing. And I went on the Housing Authority's website and I found this really great PowerPoint that goes through all the characteristics of the population of Alameda County and breaks it out somewhat by city. And I found out in Albany we have 25 people who are Section 8 recipients. And so it's not a lot of the population, it's 0.3% of the Albany population. And these people live mostly in 0 to 2 bedroom homes. 75% of this 25 people are elderly or disabled, and about 75% are in what's considered the extremely low income category of about $22,000 to $36,000 a year. So that sounds to me like this population could be hanging on just barely. And another thing that we talked about was looking up demographics. And we have some information in the Albany housing element, but I looked up the aging in place plan for San Francisco, and they had things broken down as far as like the language that was spoken by these seniors, the neighborhood that they live in, what their income is, very, very detailed information. So apparently they got it off of the census, and I made a call to the community development, and they're looking into that now to see if anybody has gathered that detailed of information, and if not, how we can get it off of the census. But I think that would really help us. It won't identify individuals, but it will help us to locate them.
Yeah.
So that is my report on the follow-up that we did. And Sid said he's watching tonight, so say hi to Sid.
Hi, Sid.
And I hope that we can call another meeting, like maybe next month or
Yeah.
the end of this month. Okay. So are there any questions or?
Comments, I have a couple. One of the things that concerned me when Sid presented to us a while back is while there were a lot of services, it seemed like, at least in some of the services, there wasn't a lot of additional availability. For example, he mentioned with the trips, et cetera, that there wasn't really any room for more people to participate, and that there was a sort of a group of people who did this on a regular basis. And I wonder about the availability of some of these other services. Even, you know, they exist, but if we were to identify a bunch of people who needed them, do we really have the capacity to provide them or not? So that would be a question for me. The other thing is, I don't think we're talking necessarily just about homebound, isolated people. I think we're also talking about people who are aging in place and are finding it difficult to remain in the community, even though they may still be mobile. For example, people who wish to downsize, or people who need their house retrofitted in some ways that will make it appropriate for an older person. So let's not think that we're just talking about disabled, isolated people. It's a bigger issue than that. Not that that's.
Okay.
And I think,
Yeah.
by the way, you said Section 8 would be 0.3%. I think it would be 0.03%, but let's not get technical.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
Yeah, so those would be my concerns. Do we actually have the capacity? And how do we find out what needs people have who may not be isolated or homebound, but still are aging in the community and need some accommodation?
I think that's a good idea because to support more resources, it's better that
Yeah.
it serves a greater population.
That village program, Ashby Village, might be interesting to invite a representative to make a presentation on what they do. And also, you know, these 8 domains of livability are good, but they're pretty general. And the question is, what are the specific kinds of things that you need to have in a community? For example, signage that people can read, street lights that last long enough so that somebody can actually get across the street. There are a variety of subtle things that aren't
Yeah.
often thought about, but really affect your life when you're older.
Right, that's great.
I'm writing. Okay. Margie? Public?
Leah Burrell, Albany citizen. Is it on? Yeah, okay. I wanted to address what Mr. Grossman just said about the availability of trips and activities for older people. When I first started coming to the senior center last year, I found there was a lot of emphasis on collecting money from the clients and all these activities that went on that I felt excluded from because I'm poor. I have no money. So I felt put off, so I stopped going for a while. And then when I started going to Project Hope, I think Sid showed up one day or something, and I ended up having a meeting with him, and I suggested that they create a scholarship fund. And yeah, it has been implemented. I've been able to avail myself of that. But I'm wondering if there can be some other mechanism for creating more money in that fund to include more people to be able to come on these trips or the activities or art classes or whatever, exercise classes, because many people I speak to there, they feel excluded. They feel like they can't engage in these activities, so there seems to be some kind of class thing going on. There's the wealthy ones that can afford it, and they come back and talk about it, and then the rest of us can't. So I really appreciate Mr. Grossman bringing that up, that if we could dig into, I don't know where the donations come from to do the.
They come from the Friends of Albany.
Okay, so if that can be expanded upon in some way, because there's a lot of us that have virtually no money, and we still want to do stuff. So I would encourage that as a pursuit of, exploration. Okay, thank you so much.
So,
The Friends of Albany Seniors set up a scholarship fund.
okay, and where do they get the money from?
Raise the money. They have raffles all throughout the year, all kinds of activities that raise money. They just had a luau. They're going to have a market on December 1st, white elephant sale and a holiday market. So they raise money all throughout the year. And they give the money to the senior center, but there is a pot that's set aside specifically for scholarships.
Okay.
Do you know how much it's used?
I don't know, but I know that they told me that they had funded every request that they had gotten. So, they weren't coming back and asking for more money.
Mm-hmm.
And how does the money is handed over to the senior center?
I'm not sure how the bookkeeping goes. I mean, there's a treasurer who writes, I've seen her write checks from the FAOS. She writes checks to the senior center. She just wrote a check for $2,500 from FAOS, which is money we raise to help the senior center operate during the year.
Oh, okay.
So every once in a while, when they raise enough money, they write a check to the senior center.
But that's for the operation of the senior.
It's for whatever they need it for, really.
It might be interesting to find out how the decision is made about how that money is distributed.
I think if someone asks for it, they'll give it to them.
Somebody, if a senior asks
Yes.
for it.
But that means they have to know that it's available.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So I would
So
like.
maybe we need to put more signage up in the senior center or do something. I can talk to Zion and to Robin about putting maybe a little sign up in the senior center that alerts people to the scholarship fund. But they have a bus. The city bought a van or a bus, and it only holds so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know senior centers like El Cerrito schedule these trips, and people have to get there on their own. And then they meet up, and it just doesn't work as well as when everyone can go in a bus, So the bus is limited in size. So that limits the number.
So maybe we need a bigger bus.
Yeah.
Or more trips.
Yeah, the trips, it's like a first come, first serve. I know the trips are really popular, that they do.
What I was wondering is whether, given that there seems, what Sid seemed to be suggesting is a group of people who do that all the time, so they would know when to sign up and,
Right.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that, but.
No, but we need to spread it out so it gets to I agree with you. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, so it can be part of our inclusivity effort too.
That's true.
If we have any shy seniors who need encouragement to participate in group activities. Okay, anything else?
So what are the next steps?
Well, I think the next step will be to hold another meeting and talk about more concrete, this is kind of like theory and a little bit of, actuality. So,
Put some more meat around what
Right.
we're talking about.
we'll do more planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We'll
I
have a
would.
planning meeting.
Yeah, I would suggest that you, see about talking to Ashby Village.
Yeah.
Also,
Mhm.
possibly Professor Charlack in the School of Social Welfare, though he's retired, but the whole issue of making communities livable for seniors has really been the focus of his work for the last number of years, and He's written a lot on that subject.
What is his name again?
Charlack.
Schar?
Mm-hmm.
Lack?
L-A-C-H.
Lach. Okay, and how would we reach him?
If you called the School of Social Welfare, they could give you his contact.
Okay, you see.
Yeah.
Do you have a contact at Ashby Village?
There's a director, and I don't recall his name.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, next item on the agenda is inclusivity, and the work group is going to review the draft letter.
Yes, we provided you with a copy of a draft letter. Isabel, should I read this for the benefit of the people out there? Oh, yeah, but
There's copies in the back, so everybody should have a copy.
yeah, but the people watching don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Read it.
Yeah, all right. So recently we wrote to you to ask that, and this is a letter to City Council, asking that any study or survey related to the California Voting Rights Act include questions related to inclusivity. Although we heard some positive responses from council members at the time, we have heard nothing subsequently. However, we are informed that such a study might be a technical matter not involving a survey. Therefore, we are now asking for your support to conduct a survey regarding inclusivity issues, a survey that would be entirely independent of any actions council might take regarding the California Voting Rights Act. Surveying the community about inclusivity issues is a crucial first step to considering broader diversity initiatives and understanding race relations in Albany. As we pointed out, and I should include more than just race relations, but as we pointed out, we are unable to recommend strategies to implement our work plan to, quote, promote community inclusivity, unquote, because we cannot reliably assess the perspective of population groups that may experience barriers to inclusivity. We believe that the city would benefit from developing a diversity action plan, a document that would be created over time by a council-appointed group representing all segments of the city and would identify specific steps that the city should undertake to increase inclusivity and diversity. The first step would be a survey to gather information about the concerns and needs of populations that are not well represented in the political and social life of Albany. After collecting such data, we propose to conduct a series of public meetings to share and discuss what we had learned through the survey. If inclusivity issues clearly emerge, and we think they will, we would suggest a process be undertaken to create a diversity action plan. If we receive a positive response from the council, we would undertake the development of a plan to conduct a survey, including the costs and support needs involved. Please let us know soon if you would like us to develop a survey plan.
So your idea was just to send this to them?
Yeah.
And what about going to the council? Bring it up at,
Yeah, I mean,
Putting it on the
what do you
agenda.
think, Isabel? Should this be on the agenda? We hadn't talked about it as an agenda item. We had talked about it as a letter initially.
Yeah, I think the first step is to send it to council via email.
Uh-huh.
And then if they choose to take that up at a meeting, then that would be their choice, and you would be notified at that time.
And would you transmit this?
I can transmit it for you, sure.
We need approval of the letter, though.
I move that we approve the letter.
I second, except that you said you were going to expand on race.
Yeah, I'll add a couple of phrases there to just
Yeah.
make that a little more
We're
inclusive.
not just talking about race.
Yeah.
We're going to vote?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We didn't have the public.
You're right. Sorry. Would you like to comment? Okay.
I'll make a change and send you a new.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So next is work plan amendment to include full evaluation of Albany Project Hope. And I'm going to provide you with an update. And I got the form from Isabel, thank you. And so I drafted a response for this because I thought that we needed to talk about it more before, now, what did I do with my, oh, there it is, okay. Before I sent, because there's, I don't know if you all have seen this, what it looks like, but this is a request to amend advisory body work plan. You fill in the proposed amendment to the work plan, indicate whether it would add to the advisory body's workload and how, if it were to do that, how that would be managed, and what the anticipated time frame for completion of the item would be, and explain how the amendment is in line with the advisory body's role as defined by the City Council. And so I said the proposal is to create a full evaluation of Project Hope and provide any recommendations arising from the evaluation. I said that it would add work to our body, yes. And this is what I said about managing that. And this is, I think, we need to talk about. Well, I put the time frame for completion of September 2020, although that's not within the scope of this, our work plan. But I think we would have to, it would be good to extend it past 2019. We have a pretty solid workload now with aging in place and inclusivity. And we're limited in the number of how we can set up work groups. We have 2 work groups, so there's only one person left, Nicole, who would be able to take this on unless unless we switch around how we're going to work on aging in place and inclusivity. So is this something we want to take on yet?
There is no rule that says people can only be on one work group. The only rule is that there can only be 2 people.
I don't think so.
It's just because you're a small group, you need to be mindful of the Brown Act, and if there's a subcommittee member who belongs to 2 subcommittees, there could be chain conversations without purposefully doing that, but
we could anyway, regardless. I mean, and just, like you said, be mindful of the Brown Act. But Nicole...
Totally different subjects, so that...
Yeah. Nicole and Greg are not here tonight, so I'm wondering if it would just be better to put this off until next week. Okay. And then I will send everybody a copy of this. Okay. So.
yeah, if you could send it to me, and then I'll send it to the commission.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Aging in place. Is that okay with the public? Do you want to comment?
I appreciate your efforts to put it off till next time so we can have more of the full group here. I just want to support the efforts to move forward with this and to add this to your workload, like you guys have nothing else to do. And I feel that Project Hope, the whole efforts around that are very important, and it helps the inclusivity issues you're talking about, elderly people. I mean, this is a very important part of our community, and we're hoping to expand it once we get our new coordinator manager person. So I hope that this can happen. I will support those efforts. Anything I can do to help, let me know. So yeah, put it off till next time. Good. All right, thank you.
Okay, so I don't think we have to vote on it because we're not.
No.
Okay. All right, so we will do this next time. And then then we have election of a vice chair.
Did we do 6-4?
Oh, didn't I do
That
that?
was the work plan we just talked about.
That was it.
Oh, we're putting off the work plan. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody
Well,
want-
there's 2 items, right? The first One was to put off the evaluation of Albany Project Hope as part of the work plan, but then there's 6.4, which is your continued discussion about
right,
potential
yeah.
items
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the next work plan.
I think we have enough right
I
now
think
on
so,
our
too.
plate.
Well, at what point does the council approve its new strategic plan?
Yeah, that's going to be like early 2019.
Because usually the discussion's more fruitful if
Yes.
we know what's on their agenda.
Exactly, so perhaps it's better to hold off until
Yeah.
you know what the goals of the council are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll save that one, too.
And just to round out the picture, I suggest in terms of election of officers that
Unless we elect the two that aren't here.
Yeah, right. That we table that until we have a full
Okay,
Okay.
cohort.
so we will table 6.5 too, as well.
And we should say, in terms of the public, that the reason, part of the problem is that we had to make a change in the evening, and that created a problem for the other members. It's not that they're being negligent, they just
Correct.
weren't expecting to be on Wednesday, so, yeah.
Okay, it's all my fault. Okay, well, I appreciate that you and Margie were able to make it. So future agenda items, we have basically the future agenda items. Aging in place, additional items for work plan, and election of officers of the vice chair.
And hopefully we'll get some response from council on the inclusivity thing.
Right, yeah. And I'll put a question mark there. We can just have an update. I'll just put it on as an update. Okay.
The other thing that, and maybe, and this is not on our current work plan, but I just want to put it out in terms of for us to think about it. I mean, the current process around the Supreme Court appointment of Kavanaugh raises lots of issues about awareness around sexual abuse and harassment and sexual assault. And I wonder if that's something that we ought to look at, if not now, then in the next work plan in terms of awareness. In the same way that that there's a lot of awareness in terms of the signs and efforts related to hate. It seems to me that that's also an issue that we should be thinking about as a community.
It's all part of that picture of certain segments of our society sustaining certain types of injuries by other factions. Or,
Yeah, and it's certainly a social justice issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just putting that out for us to think about.
We could, so we talk about it more next week.
Mhm.
I mean, next month. Okay. Any comments from the public? No, yes. That's what
I got 3 more minutes. I should
I'm saying.
grab those
The
times.
whole city of Albany tonight.
Okay, I personally am really beyond appalled at what's going on with the Supreme Court nomination. Every time I think it could get worse, it gets worse. So I think that's really topical now, and I think we should include those issues in the inclusivity letter, not just racial, but gender, sex differences, and class differences. Misogyny, all that stuff. So there's a whole range of things that fall under social justice. So I don't know if there's anything Little Albany can input to what's going on inside the Beltway, but It's tragedy. Anyway,
In the past, Peggy has been really on the spot drafting letters stating what the city's position is and sending them to Washington. So, that might be one of the ways, so.
yeah.
I was going to bring this topic up, and I was a little concerned because this is, I don't know how many kids might be watching us.
I just want to remind the Commission that this is not a topic on the agenda. And so if you want to put it as part of the discussion on of the future work plan, you can do that at the next meeting. But right now, you've completed your agenda items.
It was
So-
just in terms of the next month's agenda.
That's fine, but, like, the conversation should stop at.
I want to make this point that we have to talk about it delicately when we do bring it up, because this is still prime time on TV. So we have to be sure that we're sensitive to potentially being children watching.
Okay, I doubt we have lots of young fans, but,
Well, channel surfing.
okay.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to call the meeting to end. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting is